Welcome to another episode of the Laura the Library Lady podcast, a production of the Massillon Public Library.
Hi, it's Laura the Library Lady here at the Massillon Public Library in our studio high atop the library with our guests today, Glen Weirich and Tim Ridgley from the Washington High School Massillon Tiger football team, state championship team of 1970. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you.
So Tim is joining us from Florida, and Glen actually drove 1,000 miles to get here. He was in Florida, and he lives in Massillon, so he's back. But these are two gentlemen who were on that winning team, and wondered if you would start us off, Glen, with telling us what position you played and what year you were and all that.
Well, I was a junior on the team, and I played offensive and defensive tackle. I was not a starter. I was a messenger tackle, carried in plays, and I hate to say this, but I backed up Tim.
So I should have started with Tim, and then I should have gone to you second. Maybe this is your chance. This is your chance that you got to go first. And now Tim's going to back you up. So, Tim, you want to tell us about yourself?
Well, Glen is right. He did back me up, and he's been always trying to edge his way into being first teamer since we graduated in high school. So, and it's all good because he was a really good player too, just like a lot of the guys on the team. But I played offensive, defensive tackle, and on that team amongst a whole bunch of really good players.
That's a nice comment to make. That's really nice, because a lot of those guys are no longer with us, and a lot of people have moved, from Massillon, and some of them are still here, like Glen. Some of them have gone to Florida, like Tim, but
only part-time.
Oh, well, only part-time. Okay, we'll let you that one then. That's okay. So, Tim, were you in the class of 71 and Glen in class of 72? Is that right?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I was a mere, 3 to 5 year old at that time, so I was not really aware. I do remember games, and I remember Obi, the student mascot, dressing up like Obi, I think from around that time. And I don't know if you guys remember, or if you can tell me what year this might have been. Supposedly, Obi got beaten up by some other students from an opposing team, because I remember my mom had me make a get well card for Obi. Do you guys remember that?
I do not remember anything about that.
Well,
I do not.
It's in my memory, so I assume it's true, but it could have been 73, 74, something like that when I was a little older.
I can tell you, the 70 team was the first year they had a live tiger.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have a podcast with some of the tiger handlers, too, and talking about some of that stuff. So, yeah, that was a big year then, get the live tiger and win the state championship.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Glen brought his yearbook, and so we were looking at some of the pictures. You want to tell us a little bit about some of this stuff, Glen, and also let everybody know the Massillon Public Library does have copies of all of the Washington High School yearbooks, so if you want to look at them, come on in.
Well, being 70 years old, I figured I needed the yearbook to remember some of this stuff. And some of the names. There's several gentlemen that are no longer with us, as we had said, but there's still a lot of us around. But I'm not sure what I can say about the yearbook other than
well, talk about that mud picture.
Well, the McKinley game was a quagmire. We already played probably 7 home games, something like that, and on the field. So it was quite the mess. And, you can just see from all the photographs in the program, everybody was a muddy mess. We got an individual picture of Tim here being a muddy mess. So, yeah. I see one picture. It's an action shot. I think you were 77, right?
Right.
Number 77,
Yeah.
not 77 years
Yeah.
old.
71.
Yeah.
But I was 77 on my jersey.
Yeah.
That's, your jersey number. That's
And it's early in the game, so you're not quite too muddy here. So, but
not something they're used to these days with the turf.
no, it's been quite a few years since you play in mud holes like the stadium was. But
Didn't we change uniforms at halftime?
I think we changed jerseys.
Jerseys?
So you could read the number because maybe it was too full of mud to
Yeah.
see the number?
Yeah, and comfort purposes,
Well,
just-
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Fortunately, Tim and I weren't or running backs or anything of that sort. I'm sure it was difficult for them having their footing, and it wasn't too easy to keep our footing as linemen even, but
Yeah.
it
it
worked
was
pretty
tough.
well
It was-
because we won.
Yeah.
Can you
We
talk?
whooped their butts.
Can you guys talk about your coaches at that time?
Well, Bob Cummings was a special person. He was a special person for all of us. And then he became even a better special person for me in regards to not only did I get to play for him, I got to coach with him at Glen Oak. And so I seen a whole nother side of him. And he was the guy, remember the E.F. Hutton commercial?
When
When
EF
E.F. Hutton talks,
people
everybody listens.
Yeah.
that was him. When he came into a room and started, you could hear a pin drop. Now that was not only with the football team, but that was with the booster club, with whoever he was speaking to. He controlled the room, and I never seen a person like him that knew what to say and how to say it at the right moment
Every time, huh?
every time.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that was special. He was. I don't know how Glenn feels, but I know how I felt about him. That he was almost like a second father.
I would agree.
Probably
And-
to a lot
and-
of guys.
Oh, for sure. I can't imagine too many guys on that team that didn't feel the same way about what kind of person he was, and that was special because sometimes you don't get that from a coach for whatever reason, but he gave it to you, and it was really nice.
Yeah, he could inspire you. I mean, I think we all remember losing at halftime in Niles. It was 3-0.
Yeah.
We were losing, and he gave quite an inspiring speech at halftime. And if I'm not mistaken, we took the door off the hinges, I think, when we came out of the locker room and won
We did.
21-0, 21-3. So
Yep. 21-3.
Okay,
Yeah.
then. All right.
Yep.
Some of the other coaching staff that I had met who are no longer with us, Dale Walterhouse, Nick Vratos. We were talking about Gus Patches. I knew a person named Gus Patches, but I don't think it was the same fellow. Some of the other coaches that you guys remember, you want to mention anything about them?
Well, I know that Ed Kenny, and I actually got to coach with Ed over at Glen Oak because he was Coach Cummings' offensive coordinator over there at the
Okay.
time. And then you have Larry Coyer, who ended up coaching in college and pro football. And actually, over the last 10 years, I've been in contact with him a little bit and texting back and forth and stuff like that. But yeah, those guys were really good coaches.
I'd remember
Yeah.
Bill Michaels he was the defensive line coach. He was our
Yeah.
coach on the defensive
Okay.
line. He had a special way of talking to you and inspiring you. And he could even heal you, he thought.
He thought he could heal you.
Yes, he would heal you if you were injured. So
Was that by force, it sounds like, almost? You will be okay to
it
play?
was kind of like that, yeah.
I think the second most loving, endearing coach on that whole staff was Ducky.
Ducky Schroeder.
Yeah, I can remember one time when we were scrimmaging. I believe it was Warren Hardy, and I was playing defensive tackle, and the tackle across from me on offense went down inside and blocked the linebacker, and I believe that was Billy Luke at the time, or Stevie Luke at the time. And I'm supposed to close down and not let that guy get the linebacker so he can make a tackle. Well, I didn't do that. And the guard came across and blocked me and actually knocked me down. And I can remember the guy went for a touchdown. It was just a scrimmage, but Ducky come walking over to me. And this is how, you know, it was very soft spoken. And he goes, "Now, Timmy, you can't do that." And that's all he said. And I don't think I ever did that again.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Who else are we missing there? Glenn's got the cheat sheet here. He's got the picture in the yearbook.
Let's see. Well, I mean Jim Lutkovitz. You know, he was he was an ex-Tiger and
sure,
and he's a good man. I mean, all these guys were good.
Yeah.
So, and some of them were ex-Massillon. You know, Davey Gable, I believe, was a Massillon guy, and Gus Patches, and you know, and Dale
Walters.
Nick Verosis.
Yeah,
he was not a Massillon guy. I think he was from Martins Ferry or something. But
yes,
he was. He was in the program for I don't know how many
years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of names we're hearing that are familiar names around Massillon, and we were talking about Mike Mauger and who was the quarterback? Denny Franklin. Franklin. You know, a lot of names that people have heard and remember. So it's kind of neat to be in Massillon and you know, just feel that sense of community that, you know, people have been here for a long time doing this stuff and continue to enjoy doing it.
Yeah. They're names, you know. I mean, they're Massillon names, especially, you know, back in the 70s when we were a lot bigger program, you know, a bigger school. Mm-hmm. You know, we graduated, you know, close to 500 kids back then.
Wow.
So, you know, so, you know.
So, I mean, Steve Studer was on that team. Willie Spencer. I know a lot of people's names here that sound familiar. Joe McCabe. I'm not sure I know him, but McCabe is a Massillon name.
Yeah, Butch was.
I think he was a little bit.
He was the same class as I was.
Oh, that's Butch.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I didn't know his real name.
Yeah. His real name is Joe.
Okay.
But his nickname is Butch, I guess.
Butch.
But
yeah, for sure.
And we were talking about co-captain Tom Cardinal.
Yeah.
You know, Tommy went into teaching and coaching, and I remember for years he used to coach out at Jackson.
Okay.
And but you know, those, you know, when you start taking a look at that team, you know, you had a guy that was playing split end, and Willie Spencer, that I believe his senior year he went straight to Canadian football, didn't he, Glenn?
Yes, yeah. After our senior year, he didn't go to, you know, college. He was
like recruited into Canadian football.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you handle that? There's like 10 extra yards in the middle, right?
Something like that.
For as much as I understand football, I think I know that.
The Canadian League has some different rules than that. But he ended up being in the World Football League, and he also played for the New York Giants. You know, I think Larry Sonka and Jim Kick were the great running backs at Miami Dolphins, and then they ended up in Tennessee with Willie. And Willie ended
Spencer.
up being the leading rusher on that team ahead of Sonka and Kick. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, there was some guys on that team, you know, that like if you go across the offense, and you start with Willie split in, and then you had me at left tackle, and I went to Wyoming, and I believe Dave Kulik was at
Bowling
left guard.
Green. Yeah,
he went to Bowling Green. Steve Studer went to Bowling Green at center.
Well, there was Pete Jasinski at the other side.
but he didn't go to school.
Yeah.
And then Kurt Strobel was the right tackle, and he went someplace, but I can't remember where, I think. The tight end was Stevie Luke. He went to Ohio State and ended up being in pro ball with the Packers. And then this is even another special guy. The wingback was Larry Harper, and he ended up being vice president of Nike.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he went to Miami of Ohio.
Correct. And then there was the fullback was Tommy Cardinal. He went to BW,
he was roommates actually with Jim Tressel.
Yeah,
with
correct.
Jim Tressel.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Mike Martin was the tailback, and he went to Wisconsin and ended up transferring, I believe, to Kent State.
Yeah.
I remember him when I was a little kid. He sat up above my parents' season ticket seats, and I remember, I don't know, some fan had a sign and was jeering at some game when I was a little kid, and Mike ran down the stands and grabbed the guy's sign and ripped it in half. I just remember my dad telling me, "Oh, that's Mike Mauger."
Yeah, he had a fuse, a short one.
Yeah, and then the quarterback to finish up the offense was Denny Franklin. He went to Michigan.
How dare he?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Bo Schembechler, I think, said he was the best quarterback.
Yeah, there was some talent on that football team, and I can remember back when, and Glenn can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I remember we used to climb the fence in the stadium in the summertime and go in and work out by ourselves, running plays and stuff on the field when the coaches weren't even around.
You didn't invite me,
Glenn?
You didn't invite me.
We didn't invite you?
No.
That's because you was a junior.
Yeah, maybe you were afraid to climb the fence too.
Yeah. But yeah, it was it's something you'll never forget, you know. Just like for the kids today that won the championship this year, you know, the town will never forget, the kids will never forget, the coaches. I mean, I was down here in Florida at the time, and I was watching live videos on Facebook of the parade after the game, and it was amazing. And that just goes to show you what kind of love and admiration there is for that program. It's unique. You know, I remember when I was coaching at Glen Oak, and I went to Bob Cummings and told him that I had an offer to go coach at Massillon. And he told me a few things, and a couple of them I won't tell you, but he told me that you have to go because there's only one Massillon, and there's nobody else that can compare to that in high school.
Oh, wow.
And so I went. And so that just goes to show you what it means to everybody. You know, it's very unique.
So tell everybody, Tim, what all you did at Massillon as an adult then when you came back.
You mean after
at the
school?
Yeah, at the school.
I ended up coming back to Massillon in 1991 when Lee Owens was the head coach. And I stayed coaching football, varsity football, through 96. But in 94, they came to me and asked me if I wanted to be the head baseball coach. And of course I said yes. And in 94, we had a group of kids that was very special. Kind of, you know, when you coach sports, there's kids that you can't wait to get rid of. And then there's kids that you don't want to ever see leave.
I suppose that's the same in any educator's viewpoint.
Definitely. For any teacher or coach in the world, they understand what I'm talking about. And I don't mean that in a nasty way or anything like that. It's just human nature to feel that way about people.
Sure.
And how kids react to you and how you react to the kids. So, but anyways, so in 94 they asked me, and we ended up getting beat in the state championship game in 94.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stayed on for, I believe it was 10 years as the head baseball coach, but I quit coaching football because in '96 I quit coaching football. It was just too much to try to balance both of those sports and
I
have
imagine.
three kids or 5 kids. I can't remember if that was it would have been 5 kids because we got remarried. Me and my wife were remarried. Or my wife now, we both were remarried, and I had 3 boys and she had 2 girls. And so to try to balance that all was pretty tough. So I got out of football because football was very time consuming. The way that we ran things, and so I got out and just took the baseball program. So I stayed there for 10 years doing that. And then I got out and actually was retiring from teaching, and the athletic director's job opened up, and I put my name in the ring for that, and ended up getting that position. I stayed there for 4 years and retired a second time.
Okay.
So I have a lot of admiration for that school district. Even now, even more so because I'm going to have grandkids coming through the system. And,
nice.
And then having my oldest son as the head baseball coach now. And he's actually going to catch me here shortly on 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a unique ride, to say the least.
And so since you mentioned your son, Spike Ridgley, what's his real name? It's not Spike, is it?
No. Actually, his name is Aaron. And I actually named him after a guy that I don't even know if Glenn knows this. I named him after a guy that I was roommates on the road during football season, like when we traveled to another site to play. We always had a roommate that you stayed overnight with in the hotel, and this kid was my roommate. His name was Aaron Kyle. He ended up getting drafted by the Dallas Cowboys and played there for about 10 years. And we named him after him, and my father's nickname was Spike. So we gave Aaron the middle name of Spike.
Oh, so it's really his middle name.
Yes, it is actually, yes. So one day when he was, I believe he was 9 years old, I accidentally called him Spike on the baseball field one day when he was playing in the Little League or Bantam League or whatever it was, and it stuck. And the only person that doesn't call him Spike is his mother. She calls him Aaron.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's a unique situation.
Now the story is out. Now everybody knows why he's called Spike.
Yes. Yep, for sure.
Well, all right, let's turn to Glenn. You want to tell us a little bit about your life after high school?
Well, I ended up playing football at the University of Akron. Went there on a scholarship, and after graduation, I didn't get involved in sports anymore. Basically, I ended up being an insurance adjuster my whole life. Okay. Basically, I did get involved with Mr. Ridgley's baseball program. And I was his booster club. Was I your president or something? I forget.
Yes.
Right-hand man.
And can I correct you on something? I'm not
Maybe.
Mr. Ridgley. I'm not Mr. Ridgley.
Well, you're older. Wait a minute. I might be older than you. I'm not sure.
No, I'm older than you. You're 70, right?
No, I'm 71. I just turned 71.
But I'm a couple months older than you because my birthday's in September.
Yeah. Oh, yep. You are older than me.
Well, you're like 71 and a half, Tim.
Yeah. I just turned 71. So. Yeah, but
So you guys being friends and classmates all that time ago, you got involved with his baseball program and helped support that. That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a lot of good times together.
Yes, we did.
It was a fun thing to do, and I've been involved with the football program pretty much ever since I graduated. I became a sideliner about 5 years after I graduated from high school.
Oh, yeah?
I think it was the late 70s I became a sideliner. I've been a sideliner ever since. I was Booster Club president in 1991, and still somewhat involved with the program. And it's what we do in Massillon when you hang around.
Yeah,
So.
that's right. And how about your family?
I had two boys. They both. It's funny. Neither one of them played football.
Okay.
I think Tim and I both have that. We had boys, but by the time they were seniors, I don't think any of them played football, did they?
No, none of my three boys did. No.
No, and they just. Well, neither one of my boys were built for football. I don't think. They one of them had 9 varsity letters, but
Wow, but not football.
not football. One swam and played golf and tennis, but they're both very successful now, and none of them live in Massillon though. One's in Columbus, and the other one's up in Twinsburg.
That's nice.
It is kind of nice. I mentioned Tom Cardinal's roommate was Jim Tressel, the Ohio State coach, and he was a grad assistant at Akron U when I was there.
Oh, really?
So, I got to know Jim pretty well, and my oldest son went to Ohio. Both my boys went to Ohio State, and his sophomore year, he asked me if he wanted to be a manager on the program down there, and so I went down with him and went into Coach Tressel's office, and I asked if I could see Coach Tressel, and the secretary said, well, she called Coach Tressel, and he said, well, have him come out on the field, and we'll talk.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so both my boys ended up being managers down there, but it was kind of funny. He said, have Bulldog come out on the field.
Is that your nickname?
I'm the only Massillon Tiger that's probably ever been a Bulldog.
Yeah, that does not strike me as something that would be common around here.
Well, I got this nickname up at Akron U. We were playing, my freshman year, we're playing the Butler Bulldogs. And the defensive, I'm on the scout team on the defensive, as a defensive tackle, and they called that defensive tackle the Bulldog. And Coach Reed ended up calling me Bulldog, and it stuck. And anybody that calls me Bulldog now, they know it was somebody from Akron.
Okay, that's how you can tell how they knew you.
Yeah.
That's your Akron Zips nickname. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm still seeing some other names on here, like Lee McBride. I'm pretty sure he's the street superintendent in Massillon. Flea or Lee?
Lee.
Everybody used to call him Flea.
Oh, I call him Mister. So
he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Lots of Massillon names here and familiar names I'm seeing. So really fun. And you know what, Glenn, your other props. We didn't really talk about your other props you brought. Tell us what you brought here.
Well, I brought the tie, which
a necktie.
Coach Moore did wear it to the banquet this year. I think which was
a historical 1970 state champs Obie necktie, and it was lent to Coach Moore. These
are the awards you get, or the mementos you get when you win a state title.
A necktie.
Back in 1970, you get a letter with a state champion on it and a tie. They didn't have rings back then. So.
But you were just telling me the story of your ring, that you do have a ring now.
We do have a ring now. We had to buy it ourselves, and it was Steve Studer came up with the idea. Wasn't that right, Tim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he designed it, and we had an opportunity to buy one if he wanted one.
So this was, 25 years later or something like that?
I think it was about 91, something.
Yeah, somewhere right around there.
Oh, okay, 20 years
Because
later.
I remember I was coaching at Massillon at the time.
Okay.
When that happened.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And we got in touch with most of the former players, and I don't know how many of them bought. I don't know how many rings are out there now, but you did have an opportunity to buy one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive looking. Yeah. Glenn's got his on. So, did your letter come off of a jacket, or did you ever put it on a jacket? Because it looks pretty pristine, but it does have some threads.
Yeah. Well, those are just frayed on the edges.
It is 53 years old.
Yeah. Letterman jackets just weren't a thing back.
They
back
weren't
at
in
that
style
time.
at that time.
Yeah, I think
No.
for some
Right.
reason, I think they were big in the '60s, and then for some reason, I never had a Letterman jacket until
Neither did I. No.
I bought a Letterman jacket when we came up with an idea, tried to start a alumni association, which really never took off here in Massillon. There are just another enough support organizations that one just wasn't terribly successful.
There were already other groups,
Yeah.
so okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. We had our sideline coats. They were those big leather coats with the Massillon on the back, and they let you keep those all winter. And I don't know if this was. I don't think it was ever sewn on anything. I think it was just put in
It's
the drawer.
just your letter, and then
Yeah,
you still got it.
I think those jackets had an obi on the front sewed on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Your sideline coats that you're talking
Yeah.
about. Okay.
yeah. And that's what they actually were, sideline coats, because they were big and they'd
wore
fit
them
over
over.
they'd fit over your shoulder pads and everything.
Okay.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
but you had to turn them back in at the end of the season. They were,
School property.
school property.
Yes.
Yeah. You didn't get your diploma if you kept them.
Well, that's probably true.
Yep.
Well, anybody have anything for us to end with here? Because it's certainly been a pleasure talking to you two gentlemen and talking about the football program.
Just one thing, you often hear announcers on TV or athletes in the world today talk about what it's like to have that locker room togetherness or camaraderie. And I can remember that team and what that was like, and everything that everybody says about it today is so true. It's very unique. The love that everybody had and the competitiveness that they had on the field was very unique and very special. And that's something that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, I would agree.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's special. So, yeah, getting back to the tie, my son bought, Kathy and I are full-time RVers now. We live in our motorhome full-time, 365 days a year. And their Spike bought our house, and I left a lot of my stuff that I had.
That's the advantage of selling to family. You just leave your stuff there.
Well, yeah, but this is stuff that he wanted. like I don't know how I got this card, but I have a card from the 1951 basketball team, which I don't even know if a lot of people knew this, but it's got the lineup on one side, and then it's got their schedule on the other side. And I don't know how I got it, but I have it. And it was signed by Paul Brown.
Oh, really?
And he was the head basketball coach. I never knew that.
I did not know that either.
So, and then the other thing is that he has a lot of memorabilia stuff, and one of them was my tie from the 70 team. And I didn't say anything about it. I didn't know about it until after the fact. That he took it to Coach Moore so that he could wear it during the banquet. And I thought that was pretty unique.
It is.
That he did that. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Good idea.
Yeah. That's something special, to have a guy wear something from our team many moons ago to the banquet who just won it.
Yeah, the current one.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That was a really great idea.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, all right. Thank you, Glen Weirich and
You're
Tim
welcome.
Ridgley, for joining us
You're
today.
welcome.
And
Yes. It was fun.
I think it
It
was
was great
fun too.
hearing everybody's voice, and Glenn,
Yep.
we had a great time, buddy.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Laura the Library Lady podcast. Be sure to check out the rest of the episodes on the Massillon Public Library's YouTube channel. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many other podcast platforms.